Viewers, Namaskar. Welcome to the 15th edition of Jaipur Literature Festival, protected by Ditol Banega Swasth India at Darbar Hall. We are delighted to introduce Bullets Over Bombay. This session is presented by Dainik Bhaskar. Ram Gopal Varma's daring 1998 film Satya received widespread critical acclaim and ignited a new age in Hindi cinema, that of grit gangsters and the treacherous underbelly of the urban living. More than 2 decades since its release, Uday Bhatia's Bullets Over Bombay chronicles the making of Satya, highlighting the cinematic traditions it reinterpreted, those it sired, and its contemporary cultural influence. Manoj Bajpayee is an acting stalwart who has immortalized diverse characters for over 25 years in film and played Bhiku Mhatre of the Mumbai underworld in the cinematic subject of Bhatia's book. In conversation with Nirupama Kotru, Joint Secretary in the Government of India, previously Joint Secretary, Ministry of Culture, Bajpayee and Bhatia discuss the legacy of Satya. I'm sure you all have seen Satya. Uday Bhatia is the author of Bullets of Bombay, Satya, and Hindi film Gangster. He works as a film critic with Mint Lounge in Delhi. So let's welcome Manoj Bajpayee, Uday Bhatia, and Nirupama Kotru. In a session, Bullets Over Bombay.
Good afternoon and a very warm welcome. It's a hot day, but warm welcome to all of you. I'm sure you're very excited to be for this session. Manojji doesn't need any introduction. He's one of the finest actors in the country today, and I'm really excited to host this session. Uday has written this book, as you all just heard, Bullets Over Bombay, about the making of Satya. So without wasting further time on introductions, because we have a limited time for the sessions, I'll straight away jump into the discussion. So my first question to both Uday and Manojji is about the making of Satya. We all know that there was a bunch of outsiders associated with this film. You for one, and then there's Ram Gopal Varma and Anurag Kashyap. So it's remarkable how all these people who didn't belong to Mumbai city created this film in which the city plays a very important character. As we all know, I hope most of you have seen the film. It was a landmark film released in '98. So Uday, to you first, what do you think? Do you think these diverse backgrounds actually contributed to the film? So tell us something about that.
So the outsiderdom was actually at multiple levels. If you look at the film, Satya is an outsider to Mumbai and an outsider to the gangster world. Vidya is also an outsider. She's trying to break into the film world. We see her go on auditions. When we first see Satya, he's like just one of a crowd. So he's very much the quintessential like man with no name, man with no past. So that is one level. And then most of the cast and crew were outsiders to the film world at that time. So Manoj had a few credits. Saurabh Shukla, I think, had 2 credits before that. Anurag's first screen credit, Anurag Kashyap's, Apurva Asrani's first screen credit, Mazhar Kamran's first screen credit. So all these people were, in a sense, very much outsiders trying to break in, and somehow they all did that with Satya, and most of them are still working today, which is quite remarkable. And the third level, which I'm sure Manoj would like to tell us about, is that they were also a lot of outsiders to Mumbai who actually made one of the quintessential Mumbai films. The director and the editor from Andhra Pradesh. A lot of the cast was from North India, and the person furthest, of course, from Bombay was the cinematographer Jerry Hooper, who came from America. So it was very much an outsider film at a lot of different levels.
So Manojji, we'd like to hear from you about your journey up to Satya and how you feel that your own experiences up to that point in your life and career, they contributed to making your character, Bhiku Mhatre, which is one of our all-time favorite characters.
Okay, first of all, good afternoon, everybody. Namaskar. And I really thank JLF to give us this platform, not only to Uday for showcasing his book, and thank you, Nirupama ji. It's been known you for so many years through festivals. Satya has been, when Satya came into my life, I'm Mr. Gopal Varma. I went to meet up with him for a different film, and I didn't have work. So Kannan Iyer, who was one of the assistants of Shekhar Kapoor in Bandit Queen, he took me to meet up with Mr. Gopal Varma for a henchman's role in Dod. Okay, and those were the days when actors were most of the actors were without jobs. If you are in Mumbai, there were no definitely there was no social media. I mean, there were hardly any mobile phones there, those days. So when I met him, and then he asked me what all you've done. So I said, I have done Bandit Queen. Then he got really excited and curious, knowing which role I have done in Bandit Queen. My role was of a silent Man Singh. So I said, I have played Man Singh. And he jumped up. He stood up. He said, I have been looking for you. I have been looking for you for 5 years. And I could not even trace you. So where were you? I want to make a film with you. And my life started changing after that. He didn't want me to do that role, but I didn't trust him. I didn't trust him because those were the days promises were made to be broken. Okay. So I was more interested in that role, more than the role. I was more interested in 35,000 rupees, which I was going to get from that. So finally, he needed script writers for the film. He was quite encouraged and inspired by Bandit Queen. He wanted to make a film on Mumbai gangsters in the line of Bandit Queen. That kind of realism he wanted. Those were the kind of technicians and actors he wanted to work with. He has given me the job to introduce him to the talent which was there outside. So in that process, I got short of Anurag Kashyap to have a meeting with him. All of them gelled very well, and that's how Satya started being written. First and foremost, I was thinking that I'm going to play the hero's role, but after a few days of the script writing, Brahmu told me that there is another role I want you to play, because Satya, I don't need theater actors, but for Bhiku, I need a theater actor who can actually pull off. I was very depressed. I was quite depressed that a hero's role is gone from my hand, but nonetheless I didn't have any other choice, so I started working on Bhiku Mhatre. But to your surprise, Nirupama ji, I must tell you that I had no experience of gangsters from Bombay when the role was given to me. I always work on the backstory of the character. So when I started working on it, I needed somebody who could teach me Mumbai accent, Kolhapuri mostly. And then I came to know that the maid who used to come to my house to clean the dishes or clean the house, she was from Satara Zilla. So I started observing her, and most of the Bhiku Mhatre antics, most of his behavior pattern, few of them are imaginary, but few of them came from all the gangsters that I've seen in my small town, Bhatia. So somewhere I realized that it's always the mindset that one has to work upon. The rest, everyone is the same. Language and all of these things can be learned, can be acquired, but it's the mindset that I have to work on. I tried to make him vulnerable, emotionally vulnerable. Uh, and also during my research, I have realized that all the gangsters who are very emotional and sensitive, they are far more dangerous than any big ones that you keep reading about. Because these are the people they get hurt and offended very easily. So if it's never good to be on their good side or bad side. So you should just keep a distance from them. Bhiku Mhatre is one of them. Bhiku Mhatre is just like that. And I wanted to make him emotionally vulnerable because I knew the script. I wanted people to know and feel that this guy is there. You should fear him. But the end of these kind of people is inevitable because they don't have a mind of their own. They need one Satya who can complete them. The Satya was more of a brainy guy. He was not thinking from his heart, he was thinking from his brain. And that is why the camaraderie was so strong between them. Because Bhiku Mhatre needed Satya, and Satya needed one Bhiku Mhatre to fulfill his ambition. And so that's how the entire process happened. It took us 6 to 7 months, and then Mr. Bhushan Kumar, he got shot and he was shot dead. The film was stalled because the producer of this film, they somehow feared for their life. They left the film, and the film was stalled for some time. That time was the most a difficult time for all of us because we didn't have any other job. We had only this film to fall back upon. And Ram Gopal Varma, I must tell everyone that single-handedly this man has not only made possible the things possible for this film and for all of us, but single-handedly he changed the entire film industry with this one film, and that too with rank outsiders, as you were mentioning. Everyone was an outsider. No one was connected to the film industry. No one had a big job to boast of. Okay, at that point of time.
So in fact, I think it's good that none of you came with preconceived notions about what Mumbai gangsters are like.
And most of us were not from Mumbai too.
Absolutely.
That's Mr. Ram Gopal Varma was from Hyderabad.
Right.
He was based out of Hyderabad. He had a flat in Mumbai, but he was based out of Hyderabad. J.D. Hooper, he came from USA to shoot the film. He was a documentary filmmaker.
Sure.
He was not a proper professional cinematographer. He was a documentary filmmaker. Mazhar Kamran was the second unit cameraman. Anurag Kashyap is from Banaras. Saurabh Shukla is from Delhi. So all of these people, the main guys, were rank outsiders.
So all of you really contributed to the script in that sense. But did you also ad-lib your dialogues? Did Ram Gopal Varma give you the freedom?
So what they used to do that the rough screenplay was there, and one day they used to find a location and we used to get a call. We are shooting tomorrow, and then we used to rush, and some of the scenes are candidly shot. And some of the scenes where Anurag Kashyap and Saurabh Shukla used to give me the liberty of creating that scene on the set. So that's how it all happened. The energy was so amazing on the set. I still remember after giving the first shot because the entire unit started clapping, and those clap and those applause became a common thing.
Do you remember which shot that was? Which scene?
It's when Khanvilkar comes to arrest me.
Okay.
Yeah, because for the first time, even the lightman or the assistant cameraman watching a scene which was so real, which was so true to life, and they have never seen in an industry which was mostly thriving on commercial films and the larger than life about blockbusters.
Uday, you want to say something?
So not only was there a lot of ad-libbing because there were a lot of theater actors who could ad-lib. Not all the film actors at that time might have been able to, but there were a lot of theater actors. But even a lot of the script was written very much like at the last minute, like on the morning they would, they'd be scribbling pages and handing them to the actors. There's one very funny story about, so there's a scene in the film just before a shootout where Chandar is telling this joke, the Ram Sham joke, just before they get attacked. And Ramu knew that he wanted one light scene out there to distract the audience so that the violence comes as a shock. And when Anurag was writing that, so Ram Gopal Varma's Hindi wasn't great. I mean, he knew Hindi, but it wasn't like quite up there. So what he would do was, he'd be listening to Anurag narrating the scene, but actually he'd be looking at the reaction which he was getting from the other people. And for this particular scene, the other who were there around that, they completely lost it. They thought it was like such a funny scene. And looking at them, Varma was like, okay, yeah, this scene will work, even though he didn't get the nuance of the joke until he was seeing it in the edit.
So, Uday,
You know, there was a, I'll just to interrupt you, there was a scene where I come in and with Satya for the first time, come home, and my wife starts, questioning me, "Tu kahan tha? Itne der se kahan tha?" And the entire thing was improvised. We actually created that scene.
it was such a good scene.
And that scene became such a talked about scene because for the first time you see this guy who's an alpha male, and he gets embarrassed in front of his friend, being shouted by his wife,
Shefali is a wonderful actor
he gets
too.
angry and he slaps her.
Yes.
But as soon as he slaps her, she slaps him back. So
I think you had two terrific actors on screen. You and Shefali.
So the entire unit started clapping after the cut, and Ramu was looking at it, and he was surprised with the reaction of the unit. And then Anurag asked him, "Should we go for another shot of the same from the same axis, close up?" He said, "No. If people are clapping, it means it's working. So let's move on."
So, Uday, you talked about a lot of techniques of filmmaking that Rajiv used. As Manoj said, this is a time of commercial cinema, as we call it. And this film really broke new ground, despite not being a big budget film. So do you have any, can you tell us about some of your favorite scenes in terms of filmmaking, which you enjoy? You first and then Manoj. Perhaps the famous Mumbai ka King Khan, which we love, where Bhiku Mhatre's dialogue everybody knows by heart, almost as famous as Gabbar Singh. So that and some of the other, maybe the climax shot as well.
I mean, I have a lot of favorite scenes, but perhaps the one that I think sort of really gets me excited every time I watch it, which has been like too many times now. But there's an extended shootout that leads to the death of Guru Narayan. So there's a shootout on the bridge, and it starts in a housing complex where there's a gang fight, and then moves through the streets with these gangsters shooting at each other, and then it moves up the railway platform, and then on the bridge they finally shoot him down. The most brilliant thing about that sequence, I thought, is how it kind of brings together the two traditions in which Satya falls, which is one is the gangster film tradition, and one is the city film, like the Mumbai city film. And it's integrated so brilliantly because they're going through these crowded streets. People are just there and shooting as, their bullets are flying. And but that was kind of part of life in Bombay at that time. It wasn't unheard of. And you see him like when they're finally shooting Guru Narayan, underneath that a train is passing right at that moment. And it's a brilliant way of saying that, this is a gangster film happening in the foreground, but in the background,
Life goes on,
normal life is just
Absolutely.
going on.
Absolutely. Which is a hallmark of Mumbai, the city. Life always goes on.
But I must tell, I'll tell you, when we were shooting that sequence, so there was one day we were supposed to shoot the whole shootout thing. We were chasing Guru Narayan, me and Satya, and cameras were all hidden in the buildings, and one camera was in the jeeps, was going to, and we were running towards the jeep, and the camera was inside the jeep, and few of the cameras were on top of the building. And as soon as we got a go ahead, Guru Narayan started running towards the camera, and jeep started moving, and we were right behind him, actually shooting. Okay, the entire Lokhandwala, all the shopkeepers that you see is actual. People started running away and they started putting the shutter down. They actually thought that the shootout is going on.
It's almost like a documentary in that sense.
It was, but and as soon as there was a cut, me and Chakravarti, we ran towards the jeep and we jumped into the jeep and the jeep ran. We just disappeared because there was also a fear that if the police jeep comes, you know, the first thing they will do that they will fire at us. Okay. So, so the production was very scared that their actors are going to be shot dead.
Any other favorite scenes you want to remember, recall?
Oh, there are many. I mean, I have a vertigo. I mean, everyone should. I mean, because of that, you know, I've never have a easy air travel. So if you really want to see a vulnerable Manoj Bajpayee, you should sit next to me when I'm flying. So I had to say this iconic dialogue, Mumbai ka King Kong, Bhiku Mhatre, and I was supposed to stand right at the edge of the cliff, Bandra Declamation. And it was the toughest shoot for all of us because I was refusing to stand on the edge. And the most hilarious thing was Anurag Kashyap covered himself with black cloth and he was holding my leg. And and those were the days when, you know, we decided that we'll dub the film. So the actual dialogue that I said, Ramu said, you know, just do anything but give me the hand spread. Mumbai ka King Kong. Just say this, and after that I'll say cut. So I said my dialogues and I said Mumbai ka King Kong, and I'm standing there. I'm in actuality the dialogues which I was saying were not the dialogues from the film. I was saying, "Ho gaya na cut, nikalo revenue, ho gaya."
Thank God for dubbing.
And I know when I see that film, and the dialogue became iconic and everywhere. I mean, till now, people who watched Satya those days, now the generation that I see, they are fan of Gangs of Wasseypur. So they don't know that it's Satya made possible for films like Gangs of Wasseypur.
Absolutely. So this again is for both of you and for these kids who have not watched Satya, you must. I think it's a very good film. Has the film aged better than other such films? What do you feel? I mean,
I have, you know, I'm
what's your
always very
feedback?
scared of watching anything that I have done 10 years back. Because, you know, you really don't know whether it stands, you know, it tests of the time or not. But Satya is one of those films. Satya, Aks, you know, all of these are the films. I can say that I have seen Satya mostly on YouTube. Those days I used to be scared because there were so many shows happening. It was a silver jubilee, super hit film. It has changed the industry, and I was getting so many offers those days. I was you know, given this pedestal, but I couldn't see the film. I couldn't see the film, thinking that I may dislike it. But I watched it on YouTube so many times, and I must say that, you know, it really holds it together.
I definitely agree because I just watched it again. I think it's available on one of the OTT platforms
Right.
now. So,
It
Uday, what do
is,
you
but the
feel?
YouTube print is still the best. So
Okay.
if anyone wants to watch it, watch it on YouTube. Yeah, I think it holds up well also because for once, I think it was a slightly restrained film from Ram Gopal Varma. I love his non-restrained films also. But this one was shot very simply. I think the performances and the writing was kept center stage and everything else was kind of just there to support that. And those films tend to age quite well rather than those that are sort of picking up the filmmaking trends of that time. They kind of get stuck in that time when you watch them later. And Satya was also modern in ways that only became apparent later. There was no real item number except Goli Mar Bheje Mein, which is like an item number with bearded guys. So who wants that? uh, and there was no there was just one romantic song, which was very little for a film of that time. One of the songs was done in a sort of montage style. The death sequence of Bhiku was completely unprecedented. When has there been a more shocking and
Very sudden,
less
yeah.
dramatic death? Because it just comes.
Uday, I was thinking about it, uh, about the death sequence, and all the discussions have gone into it, and all the nervousness and anxiety that make Ram Gopal Varma and Anurag Kashyap and all of us have gone through in really just before doing that sequence, because it was written. It was already conceived that Bhiku Mhatre will be shot dead with one bullet. That's it. And such a mercurial character, such a magnificent character, and people have seen the while shooting, people have seen the love and the applause performance was getting. Just before shooting that sequence, all of us were in doubts. Should we kill him like this, or should we actually think of some other way and and cancel the shoot today? But I think when we've done the scene, we rehearsed. I mean, there was no dialogue given to us. It was a brief given to us that Bhiku Mhatre comes from outside and Bhau has won the election and everyone is drinking. And in that, Bhiku gets shot by Bhau. Okay. And I had to just die. There should be no movement of the body. Okay. And finally, it was decided, let's do it. We've done the rehearsal. That convinced Ram Gopal Varma a lot. He said that, no, let's go ahead and shoot this. Jo hoga dekha jayega. So it all starts with Bhiku Mhatre. The crackers are being burnt outside in the street. He comes in his Omni van. He comes out, and the dreaded mafia guy, the first thing you see is actually scared of the crackers. He's throwing abuses at all the boys there, for really burning the crackers. Then he moves from there. The camera is following him, and you see Bhiku Mhatre so pally with all the guys who are standing. That means he's the most loved guy. So all of these small things I walked upon and improvised just to shock people more, because you are loving him. By this time, you are in love with Bhiku Mhatre, and you see him so pally and so emotionally attached with each and every person. You see him getting scared like a child by the crackers. And when you go inside, you see a mercurial one and loud, very loud Bhiku Mhatre celebrating Bhau's win. And then there's the silence after he's shot down. So that was all intentional to really shock the people hard.
If I'm not mistaken, you didn't know when Govind Namdev was going to shoot you, because he was told, Ramu told him, I think, to take his time, go make a drink, and then whenever you feel ready.
Whenever you feel. So when I was doing my act with everyone, I had to keep on one thing in my mind, that I have to go on improvising till I'm shot dead.
Right.
So that was the biggest thing, because I couldn't see the gun. So Govind Bhai has taken his own sweet long time, and I was completely, I have emptied out whatever I had. So yeah, it was what happened in the theater is something else. I still remember that those days I was very close to Mr. Mahesh Bhatt, Pooja Bhatt, and everyone. And I invited Pooja and her friends to watch the film. And after the film was over, she took us to a restaurant. And there she was completely lost and she was not talking. I said, what happened, Pooja? Film, you didn't like the film? No, it's not that. Can we go home and party there? I said, let's go. Then we went Pooja's home. And I said, why? What happened? Why you were so uncomfortable in that restaurant? She said, I've been living in this city. I'm born in this city. And for the first time after watching the film, I'm scared that anybody can come from anywhere and shoot me down.
So since you mentioned, that all of us fell in love with the character of Bhiku Mhatre and Satya. So in a sense, by humanizing these characters who are from the underworld, do you feel that in some way RGB was kind of glorifying violence? Or, I mean, it's a criticism which always comes of films like Gangs of Wasseypur or Satya. Although RGB does say in the end of the film that my tears are for Satya as well as the people he killed. Violence is bad. So what do you feel? I mean, this is not exactly about the film, but when you play such a character, do you feel it's fair for the filmmaker to say that, he's also human? Look at him as a human being first rather than a gangster.
The first and foremost,
Does that glorify violence?
it's never about glorifying. You are also showing that he dies a dog's death. Okay, you also show that he has a wife, he has children, he's a good friend, he's close to someone, you like him, and everything is fair. But the work that he's doing, it is inevitable that he's going to die. It is inevitable. The greatest of the gangster in the history of mafias, they never survived. Even if they survived, they've all rotten in the jail. Okay, or if they didn't go to the jail, if they were not shot dead, they ran away the country. They are leading a life which is really not so great. So Satya has told a story about this group of people coming from a marginalized section, looking for a better life, but chose wrong means. Okay, but in the end, all of them die. All of them, are separated from their loved ones.
And they die very. They're not glamorous deaths. Like it's not. They're not going down in a hail of bullets and in slow-mo, and there's like a lot of music playing or anything like that. These are very stark deaths. They're short, that's it, and that's it. The film moves on. As soon as someone dies, that's it. Like nobody is talking about them. The next person dies, and the next person dies. So it's if any film could be accused of glorifying violence, I think Satya would still be like very low on that scale.
Okay, Uday, since we are at a lit fest, do you think that people's reading habits have evolved and more people are reading books related to film now? Because when we were growing up, we didn't have enough books. We just had these film magazines, the glamorous magazines. But do you think it's a good culture change?
I have no idea. I hope people are reading more film books.
I hope so too. So,
no, but I've read the book. It was sent across to me, and if you really want to see or read or know about the change that has occurred, that has happened, and it all happened by chance. But it also, I would say, it all happened because of one person's resolve. That is Gopal Varma. That he wanted to do things his way. And he knew that he was working against all the odds in the industry. And Satya has, you said it so rightly in the beginning, that you can actually divide the industry time in two phases, one pre-Satya and post-Satya. So all the makers who mattered, who changed things, they came inspired by Satya. They got that chance or opportunity by Ram Gopal Varma. All the actors, most of the actors, I'll quote you guys KK Menon's word. Had Satya and Bhiku Mhatre not happened, we would not happen to the industry. I think this is what one film has done. But also he didn't stop with Satya. What was needed at that point of time to keep on making films which were not only real, but at the same time entertained people in the same way as mainstream films. And Ramu kept on making those films, be it Kaun or Shul and Company and Sarkar. He kept on, or he was giving, say, some fantastic makers like Shimit Amin or Shriram Raghavan, all of these people. So he mattered a lot, and he should be given his due credit whenever we talk about changing time or great content that our industry is making.
Very true. So I think we have time for some audience questions. Just give me 5 more minutes. So last question to you, Manojji. You've had a wonderful, God bless you, wonderful career trajectory, starting from theater, you did television, films, and now you're the king of web series as well. Everybody's loved you in Family Man. So what next? What are you planning next? Because all of us are always excitedly looking forward to what you're doing next. So anything you can share with us? Or? Yes. What excites
I am
you?
also waiting for. Yeah. No, what OTT, the emergence of OTT has done, I was talking about it in the last session, that the pandemic has been a curse for the entire world. It has really, really affected each and everyone. And we've gone through gamut of emotion in these 2.5 years. It has really changed, turned the world upside down. But there is one good thing happened. And it happened because of OTT, because there was only one medium of entertainment that people could access, and that was OTT. People explored it. Audience now, the Hindi film industry, I will talk, because I work in that industry. It has done a hell of a lot of a favor, I would say, the OTT. You see talents like Nawaz, talents like K.K. Menon, Pankaj Tripathi, Jaideep Ahlawat, being celebrated. This is something that we never imagined, that things would change to this extent. And this happened in 2.5 years. This happened because of OTT. This happened because of the audience here, because the audience was not given this option by our industry. So somewhere we were of the opinion, the industry, that they only like certain kind of films, or they only like certain kind of stars, and the rest of them can only wait for their turn as character actors. We with Satya, we have proved them wrong. With so many other films, we proved them wrong. With Gangs of Wasseypur, we proved them wrong. But OTT has given that that opportunity, that space, not only to us, but to also the audience to explore and find those talents and support them. So thank you very much, audience. This is because of you.
Yeah, we've come a long way from the time when smaller films had to really fight for a theatrical release. So
Yes,
I mean,
look at Bhosle, Nirupama ji.
Yeah.
Bhosle didn't find a taker outside, and when it came on OTT, it became the creative head once was speaking to me and said that we never expected Bhosle to get a subscription, and Bhosle got them subscription. It's an art film. Apart from Bhosle getting me international and national award, it has actually gotten subscription to the platform where it was showcased. So it's the audience which was always there. It's just that they were not getting that opportunity to go ahead, explore and promote and mentor those films and those
you didn't get the slots. No?
Yeah.
Your distributors didn't give you slots.
Yes, it is so difficult. I must tell you guys, it is so difficult to release a film in our country, and a film which is small, a film which we are very sure that is going to entertain you some way, touch your senses in some way. To find 2 shows in a day is next to impossible, because all the big films, they come, you only get to watch them, but you don't know the politics behind of the distribution, the politics behind the releases. It completely crushed the small films, and OTT has given such a huge boon and support to these films and those talents. I'm more I talk about it, more I feel grateful, to OTT Boon and to the audience who's out there.
Wonderful. So we have 10 minutes for questions. First, this boy.
हेलो सर। तो रिजेक्शन काफी होता है इस फील्ड में, और अभी आपने डिप्रेशन की बात करी थी, तो 3 बार एनएसडी ने आपको रिजेक्ट किया था सर, है ना?
जी,
ऐसा
जी।
है। तो जो लोग रिजेक्ट होते हैं, जैसे मुझे मेरे सर ने बोल दिया था तेरे में वो बात नहीं है, मुझे जानना है कि आपने क्या सोचा था उस वक्त, क्योंकि मैं काफी डिप्रेस हो गया था।
नहीं, पहली बार में तो मुझे भी बहुत डिप्रेशन हुआ था यार। तो मैं इस मामले में ज्यादा ज्ञान नहीं दे सकता आपको, लेकिन पहली बार तो लगता है, क्योंकि आपकी एज कम होती है, आपकी उम्र कम होती है, और आपको लगता है कि सीधा सीधा आपको ही खारिज कर दिया गया है। सो इट्स नॉट दैट कि आप रिजेक्ट हुए हैं, बिकॉज आप उस चीज को इतना ज्यादा चाहते हैं कि आपको लगता है कि आपकी पूरा पर्सनालिटी, आपका एग्जिस्टेंस रिजेक्ट हो गया है। बट आई मस्ट टेल यू वन थिंग, इफ यू आर यंग, it hits you very hard because it's your first experience. But after a few years, you will turn back and laugh at it. If you keep the no in your pocket, it only teaches you that life is not going to be fair all the time. And whatever जो भी करना चाहते हैं आप कीजिए, but rejection should not define you. This is what I have learned from my rejection.
We have an online question. Yeah.
It's an online question that has been asked by Shivam. We also have thousands of people watching this online. My question is that in movies of this genre, yes, the most evil and broken people, the most dangerous people are shown very glamorously, but they all ultimately do face the same fate. They are defeated. Is that on purpose to send a message that violence may look cool, but it's not?
I think we've already answered that because we discussed violence at length. So,
just a small thing though on this. So that literally was the case. Gangster films started out in the US. At that time, they had very strict rules about the kind of lives that you could portray and the violence that you could show. So to kind of get past the codes of that time, they had to show these people dying at the end. And that became so ingrained into the genre that till today, in a gangster film, it's very, very rare for the main characters to make it to the end without dying.
next question. This lady.
Good afternoon, Manoj sir. It's a pleasure seeing you.
Thank you.
My question was that we have seen and loved you from Satya to Kuru. I would really love to know it was when and how you received your true callings for theatre and arts. If there's a little story about it, and how did you rediscover that this is what you want to do in your life?
She's saying that how did you decide that acting is what I want to do, theatre and
Okay. No. So I don't know. I've done, extensive theatre in Delhi, and I was very clear what I wanted to do as an actor. Also, only for that reason, my going to Mumbai got delayed because I didn't want to be part of the mainstream cinema just as one of the characters, or I didn't want to be part of pot boilers somewhere. Nasruddin Shah sir and Om Puri Sahab did, and Pankaj Kapoor sir, and Shyam Benegal ji, Govind Nihalani's work, their work, inspired me quite a lot when I was doing theatre, and I wanted to be part of that kind of a movement. For me, I keep telling everyone that, for me, my becoming an actor was not a means to become, means to buying a Mercedes or buying a bungalow. It is never attached. I'm still more interested in my actor than the car that I travel in. I'm still more interested in my actor than the business class that I fly in. These are the things. They come with the job, and sometimes they don't even come with the job. But am I doing justice to what I'm passionate about? Is something which is I keep reminding myself whenever I get up in the morning what I really want to do with my life. So the short films that I have done in my career, they didn't get me anything. I just wanted to be part of that movement and contribute in my own way. Why I do Bhosle, why I do Gali Guliyan or say Aligarh, I do it because I want to be part of that movement and I contribute as an actor to that amazing, artistic journey of the makers.
Sorry, we have run out of time, so we won't be able to take any more questions. So thank you very much, Manoj. Thank you, Uday. They want you to recite one dialogue.
क्या एक आजी उसमें गाली है, यहाँ पे गाली कैसे हजरात हजरात हजरात, बड़े अफसोस के साथ ये सूचित किया जाता है कि कल रात वासेपुर की एक लड़की को अगवा कर लिया गया है। हजरात, अगले 24 घंटे के अंदर लड़की अपने घर नहीं पहुंची तो इस पूरे इलाके में इतना बम मारेंगे कि धुआं धुआं हो जाएगा और रामाधीश सिंह के पूरे खानदान से रंडी का नाच नचाएंगे। हजरात,
तो I think I should also say बड़े अफसोस के साथ सूचित किया जाता है कि ये सेशन का टाइम आउट हो गया है। So thank you Manoj Bajpayee, Uday Bhatia and Nirupama Kotru. We thank Dainik Bhaskar for their support. Thank you, thank you, thank you.